lovely to see you, and thank you for joining me. So today we are going to talk about the difficulties of having your young people, your daughter Gerard and your son April, in a kind of residential setting at this time. As we know, there's been lots said on the news about elderly relatives and all people being kind of in care homes and residential homes. But I feel that, there hasn't been much said about young people who happen to, not be with their families during this pandemic. So I just thought, actually, if you could first introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit, kind of a short kind of resume on April, your son Jake, and Gerard, your daughter Caroline, and then we'll kind of see where the discussion takes us. So April, if you could perhaps just kind of introduce Jake to us, that would be great.
Okay, so my name's April and I've got a son called Jacob who is now 20. He was diagnosed with adrenoleukodystrophy in October 2009, so he was 9 years old. Came on very, very quickly from him walking a bit strange, acting weird, to 2 months later in a wheelchair, couldn't eat, couldn't speak, couldn't suck through a straw. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk, etc. We were kind of left on our own a little bit. Dorset had never seen anything like it, and because I'm from Bournemouth, it took 3 months to get the diagnosis. I was told I was neurotic from the one doctor. You know the story.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, after screaming that he was getting so bad that they MRI'd him, and I had to ask for it. And by that point, he had got quite bad. We did some radical stuff with Jake. We took him off to Germany for stem cell treatment. We seem to have stopped the disease from spreading. Where we are now with Jacob is independent for 20. He still struggles with his speech. He can't walk. He can't do anything for himself, even pressing a remote control. He needs 24/7 care. We had, similar to you, Gerard, a care package at home. I won't go into details, but we had awful issues with carers and problems. And Jacob unfortunately was affected by this and he did some rehab, so went into a care environment and decided actually that he really liked it because he was away from my control and he was being as independent as he could be because he's a 20-year-old young man. And that's where he is at the moment. And I have to say they're fantastic. The first place he was in was not. I had to pull him out of there. But this place is amazing. And they are doing amazingly with him. And he's been there since December, so it hasn't been a long time.
Okay.
They are still struggling a little bit with his speech, i.e. he's got my Netflix and I've noticed he hasn't been watching a lot lately. And of course, there's not a lot to do. So I'm wondering what's going on. The staff are struggling to know what to put on TV for him, so I'm like, well, ring me and ask me. So like yesterday, after my FaceTime with Jacob, so sorry Gerard, I couldn't speak yesterday, but I had to FaceTime. I gave them a list as long as my arm of all the shows and everything that I think he'll enjoy, and I know he'll enjoy. And they've now put a whiteboard up in his room. So because it's a care home, not a one-to-one staff, there's, it depends who's on and who gets him that well. So a whiteboard's going up today from yesterday's conversation and written on air all the TV shows. And that's one of the reasons I FaceTimed Jake yesterday, was just to put some past him and ask him what he wanted. That's the bit I'm struggling on because I'm his voice. And I've got an eye like a hawk. I can go into his room and within minutes I can see what's right, what's wrong, how's he doing. Yeah. Even stupid little things when he first started, a call bell, where his vision's so bad, if they don't put it right in front of him or in his stretch, he can't press it.
Yeah.
And I'd gone in there and he'd weed everywhere and no one had picked it up. So there was issues like that. So of course I was so used to going in from every day to every other day to probably every third day to nothing. So big panic. However, one of the staff members that is there now came from the other place, who was really good. So he's kind of keeping an eye for me as well. But it is releasing your child into the wild with those conditions, hoping that they're going to be looked after. And I am, and I'm a control freak, and it's almost like I've worked so hard keeping Jacob afloat for all these years. I don't want it going to rack and ruin. Yeah. But Jacob wants his independence, so it's been a real struggle for me emotionally. But I'm in the situation now where I get on really well with the staff there. They're always on the phone, on email. Now I can FaceTime them with Jacob. I can ask questions. I bought Jacob a beer fridge for his room so I can keep a track of it, because he likes certain drinks and things.
Yeah.
And I can't ask the care home to go out and buy all Jacob's special treats. So I bought a beer fridge for him so I can put all his bits and pieces that he likes in there. Because I can't go in every day now like I was, taking bits and pieces in. So yeah, so that's a little resume of kind of a situation from where we were to where we are now.
Brilliant, thank you. It's that difficult, you say you were control freak. That's just being a mum or a dad, isn't it? Yeah, no, thank you. It's really very difficult. Gerard, if you could tell us a bit about Caroline and sort of her.
Yeah. Well, Caroline is 35 years of age, and 10 years ago, Caroline gave birth to a beautiful boy called Tiernan, and it's an Irish name, Tiernan, and everything was beautiful. The first grandchild, Caroline's first child. She moved into a brand new house with her partner, and but we had started to notice after her birth that she was a wee bit unsteady, and she seems to be stirring an awful lot. And took her to the doctor, and the usual doctor thought it was postnatal depression, a whole lot of things. But my wife just knew that there wasn't there, Caroline. She started doing things spontaneous. She would have lifted her phone, and she would have been in my car, and she would have been phoning for a taxi, just out of just doing wee things that was very spontaneous. And so she was referred to a neurologist, and he got an MRI scan done, and they didn't know what it was, and it took about another year. And by that stage, Caroline was falling a few times, and so they took her into hospital, and they'd done another MRI scan, lumbar punctures, and the whole works, and they were still mystified about what it was. So that they had to send their tests off to some professor. It's a famous professor with leukodystrophies in Amsterdam, and they didn't know what it was, and so they sent off our MRI scan to this place in Amsterdam, and it came back that Caroline had a thing called neuroctional leukodystrophy. And I looked, and I can remember the neurologist giving us a piece of paper and writing it down, and us having to Google it up. So basically what they say is with Caroline is there's no treatment, there's no cure. It's about making her life as comfortable as possible. And it was like a death. It was like a death to us, honest to God. We ended up, we had to get genetic testing done because they wanted to know where did Caroline get this. Caroline is the oldest grandchild, and there's maybe 20 or 30. My wife has 8 brothers and a sister, and and myself as a family, so they wanted to know where did this happen, because we didn't know where this came from. Was it sporadic, or was there a gene or something? And so we get on genetic testing, and it came back and it says on my wife's side of the family, and we just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe. And so I didn't know about it, and leukodystrophy, I couldn't even say that word, what it meant or nothing. And luckily for the internet, I went on the internet, and I got on to a place called Australia. There was Australia Leukodystrophy Society, and I was talking to a guy there, and he put me in contact with your former founder, the late Mark Bostock. And I was talking to Mark, and Mark invited me over to one of your family days. I think it was probably about 8 years ago. It was in the Belfry, and talking to Mark. And see, when I came back to Belfast after being there, I was really horrified. I couldn't sleep, because Caroline at this stage was able to walk and talk and do things, And but when I came back there and I seen people in wheelchairs and being peg fed and cars with them and all. It was horrific. I found it really horrific, but it actually done me good because it prepared me. If you know what I mean too. Carly now in the 10 years that it's progressed, Caroline was very intelligent, smart. She passed all her O levels or A levels. She had a business degree and all this here, and she worked. And Caroline is now she needs 24-hour care. She can't talk. She's in a wheelchair. She can't wash herself. She can't do nothing. You know what I mean? But she knows what's going on around her. She knows exactly what's going.
They're trapped inside their own body, aren't they?
Yes, she knows what's going. She knows what's going on. She knows what's happening, and and it's terrible. The wee boy's doing brilliant. Our partner's taking a tough. He gets it tough, but the wee boy's been living with it. So he's just knowing his mommy has been in a wheelchair and can't talk, and it's sad. You know what I mean? I wonder what it's going to be like in a few years' time when he gets older and in the big, because he's at that age now, 10, where he wants his friends to call and he wants to go to his friends and he wants, he's in P6 and school and all that there. And, so it affects him there because he can't go out to a youth club or things because if something happened to him, his daddy can't, so there's a whole lot of things there. But, so Caroline at the minute is in a neurology unit in Musgrave Park Hospital in Belfast, which is a wonderful place. Caroline has been getting respite in there for probably about the last 6 years because of coronavirus was coming and everybody was panicking. When Caroline goes to a day centre 5 days a week. She's a big car package.
Yeah.
And we knew that the day centre was going to close. We knew that her son's school was going to close, and we probably knew ourselves that there might have been a chance Caroline could get this here coronavirus with all cars coming in and out. There was an opportunity there was one bed left in Musgrave Park Hospital in a place, as I said, Caroline's very familiar with, and the staff are excellent there. And it was like a quick decision: do we let her go in there, or can we manage ourselves? And then in your head you're saying, but if I was to come down with the illness and self to isolate, if her partner has to isolate, or my wife, or you've all this here, and so it was the right decision. But definitely for Caroline's safety, it was the right decision. She's in there, and thank God that where she is, there has been no. The virus hasn't been there yet. It's very, very controlled.
Yeah.
And so that's where we at this particular time. We knew when she was going to be in that we probably weren't going to be able to visit her. The very first few days we could visit her and do, but we knew that when lockdown came in, we weren't going to be able to visit her. And but the good thing is they moved her to a side room on her own with a TV and all, and we're able to drive up the car park, and I can have the wee fella. He can look in the window and wave there, and I can wave too. And then the officers could bring up an iPod and we'll do Skype. So we set up Skype and we're able to Skype the nurses when they've time. You know what I mean? You have to phone and make an arrangement and whatever when they've time. And so that's where we're at the minute. We're missing her. We're we're starting to really miss her now. I miss hugging her. I miss, reassuring her. And but we'd be scared of taking her out now too, in case she was to catch something. You're caught that way. You're caught that way too. And we're watching the news and the updates all the time, and just to see if maybe they might let one visitor up maybe next week. You don't know, they might change the policy. But I don't know. It's just I don't think really anybody sort of knows. It's everybody's playing this all by ear. But that's where we're at the minute.
Yeah, and it's such a difficult situation, I think we're all juggling life, just on a normal day to day. But of course, when you've got added kind of complications, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you've got to sort of keep your children safe. You sort of touched on a very valid and important point that what happens if you were to get ill, or your wife, or or Carolyn's partner. I mean, I'm in a different situation in that I've got my son at home with me, and that is one huge worry, is if me or my husband were to get COVID, who would look after him, because you hear about people being completely floored by the virus. So it's really, really difficult, and it must be so difficult for your grandson not to be able to see mum, and obviously he can see her, but not seeing her properly. I think we all miss that kind of that closeness and being able to kind of give them a hug. You must feel the same, April, with Jacob, that you can't,
especially if you're a tactile person, because I am. I even hug my friends, I'm a huggy person, and that bit is hideous. So the dogs are getting hugged constantly to the point where they're now walking away because they can't stand it. But that bit's really hard.
So you, April, you're managing to FaceTime Jacob, and he, I understand, is giving you lists of things that he would like.
Yeah, his speech is very, very slurred. It's like, you guys get what I mean when I say it's like he's had a massive stroke. On top of the fact he's got no voice. So if he's saying to me, so he was trying to say that for some reason he's been thinking of Alvin and the Chipmunks, a DVD he watched donkeys years ago. No one at that place has been able to get it. I struggled, but as he went, ow, I don't know, I just went, not Alvin and the Chipmunks, but that ow was like, ow. How I got it, I don't even know. I think the gods were helping me, because I was struggling. So then I realised what it was. So I get the staff are struggling, because I still struggle. I eventually get it, but then he's my son, so I have to go through history of what? And then, because we were on the DVD film, so I kind of knew the topic. So I'm sort of trying to train the staff. If you get the right topic, eventually. But then the trouble is with Jake, he'll change that topic midway and then completely throws you because he's thinking of something else. So I think that's where I'm struggling a bit, is like, because are they understanding him? But he's so good natured, he barely gets frustrated. It would drive me mad if I was trying to get my point across and no one could get it, and then they get the wrong thing. I'd give up, but he doesn't. He laughs and continues, and then he'll go get mum. So what I've said to them is, and said to Jake, if you're struggling really badly, just do the call sign mum, because they understand the word mum, and I've got all the staff to stand there when he's done a mum, so they can understand he's saying mum to get me. But FaceTime is harder to lip read than real life, I would say. But I'm getting there, because I'm making him put the screen right up to his mouth so I can kind of lip read it. I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation, because there's nothing else you can do. And like you, Gerard, now and again I've been allowed to go up there and kind of wave, but what they don't want to do is make it into a big thing, because then everyone else will want to do it, and then they could have loads of us going up there doing the same thing. But Jacob is one of the worst cases that they've had, and all the other residents are either completely non-verbal and, bless them, don't know what's going on, or they're verbal. Jake kind of falls in the net bit where he does know what's going on. He is trying to vocalise it and struggles, and that's where we are with it. So so I've seen him a couple of times from afar. That was really hard though, because I just wanted to run and hug him. I literally had to think, glue your feet to the floor, because it was so in my nature just to go, I just want to hug him. But I knew I couldn't. So and in fact, one of his DVDs has arrived today, so I'm going to go up there later to see whether or not I can wave at him if it's the right time and they're not too busy and stuff. Because like you said, Gerard, you've got to time it all, haven't you, around their busyness, because they can't Skype or do it all themselves. So I'm relying on them to be there for Jacob to sort it all out for him, because he can't do it. And that's been a bit frustrating, because we've set a time and then it hasn't happened, and then they can't do it. And I'm like, I just want to see him. So yesterday is when they said we can do it at 2 o'clock. And I thought, oh, of all the days and times, they picked 2 o'clock Monday. But I had to say yeah, because I needed to see him.
Yeah.
But that bit's frustrating, isn't it? Well, you can't just talk to them when you want to.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's very. But then you think about, other people in the same situation. So it's not just, they're not just taking it out on our children. It's everybody's children who's in hospital. And I suppose I can see their point of view. They don't want the virus, and I wouldn't want to go and visit and give it.
Yeah.
Since she's been tested twice, she's took a high temperature, and that's automatically a flag. So it was very scary for us. Both times we knew we were waiting on the results coming back, and it was very, very frightening. Thankfully, both times come back negative, and any test that has been in the unit, anybody else has come back negative. Because we have a good relationship with the ward manager and all the nurses, so and so at that was scary for us too, and it puts it sort of in perspective. If she was home and she did take the high temperature, she would have ended up in a different hospital or maybe in a different care facilities, in a care home. She could have ended up there. And we're hearing all the stories about what's going on in the care home, care facilities, and it's happening here too.
And that's the other thing, isn't it, with the care homes? There's no there's the little murmurs of there's been 15 deaths in this care home, but when they do their big government chats and stuff, there's no mention at all, is there?
No.
Of any of it.
They're only, so the published figures are hospital figures, aren't they, as opposed to care home figures kind of thing, which is, it's
and then McCarline too, with her being the way it is here, we have got, it's called the Department for Communities here, which would be your version of the Department of Work and Pensions.
Yep.
And so because she was in over 28 days, she automatically, her PIP be suspended, and the CARES Alliance be suspended. I was worried about I have a wheelchair. It's a wheelchair van for Caroline, and I was worried about that. I mean, how would she get her washing? How to get her wee boy up if she was discharged and all this? Yeah. But because she's suspended, it's all right. But for another time here, if you're in a hospital environment for over 28 days, you lost your care package as well. So when Caroline is fit to come out, or when this all clears up, we'll have to start from scratch again to get her care package.
Oh my goodness.
So there's no guarantee that we would have the same care providers that come in at the minute. There's no guarantee that she would be in at her day centre. I can't see there being a problem, believe it or not. I can't see that being a problem. But because it's after 28 days, it's automatically stopped. And then they have to then work out among themselves about, they can't just send Caroline out, but whether she'll have the same care providers, the same ones will still come into her and whatever. So that's a bit worrying too. I'm going to have a word with the social worker up in I'm going to go up to the hospital anyway with the bring washing or bring clean clothes up and get washing back. And so that's a bit frightening. And no one's
so they're not. So is her day centre closed currently?
Her day centre is closed. She's part of a trust. It's called Belfast Trust, and I would say within a few days before the lockdown actually happened here, I think we started the lockdown before England. All day centres were closed anyway, so all day centres facilities within the Belfast Trust all closed for the foreseeable future. So we don't know when the day centres will be up and running again. So that's up to see what happens and all. So there'll be nobody in and that's even the staff in the day centre. Even the staff in the day centre, they're seconded out to different places, so they're not sitting in the day centre doing nothing. I think there's maybe the centre manager and somebody else, but they're all having to go out and roll their sleeves up and maybe work part of the trust and whatever else. So I don't know where they are or what they're doing, but I know that's what they were telling me. That's what they were doing. So all day centre facilities, that's for young and old and whatever,
Yeah.
are all closed. And so nobody knows when they're going to open or what's going to happen or when. So,
and I guess the people go to these places are so vulnerable that they're probably going to be the last places to open, aren't they?
that's what I know. That's what I'm thinking. And in the wee boy was school, the top here schools are completely closed till after the summer. I think that there's the time opening, nobody will send their children to school anyway here, so that's be off. So we're basically, it's just taking every day as it comes, you know. That's all.
But you would have thought that they could just have put, especially the day centre, on hold, you know, and the kind of, you know, the care hours that she needs, you know, if she was to come back out of hospital, you know, say after the 12 weeks, you know, she's still going to need that care. And in fact, if the day centre isn't open, she's going to need more care. She's going to need more help, especially with the little one at home. You know, and if they've not relaxed the lockdown rules, then technically, you know, you, Gerard, and your wife wouldn't supposed to be going to visit her. That, you know, and you would perhaps be worried about that as well anyway, by, you know, the chance of taking the virus into her. You know, and it just seems really unfair, and that things aren't just put on hold, because, okay, the carers who normally come into care, I'm sure they are busy, you know, covering.
Well, they're still doing. They're still getting into houses. They're still working and doing.
And of course, there's always a concern of, you know, where carers are going from house to house to house, that actually, you know, they're seeing so many different people. You know, I'm lucky in that we do use direct payments for our carers, and our carers actually don't care for anyone else. They only care for my son. So much as they're at home with their families, they're not going from house to house and seeing people that they don't know, you know, and obviously they're very aware of the risks to Cameron. So they're being ultra careful. But I'm not so sure that I would be having care if it was the fact that it was, you know, a carer who was going from house to house. I think I would either be having a conversation with the agency and saying, you know, these are the hours I have. Can you identify carers who can just do those hours, you know, and put them, you know, for us if possible. Of course, I don't know. That's not my situation, so I'm not sure if, you know, if that's even doable. But, you know, you want some security, Gerard, in knowing that, you know, when lockdown starts to be eased and, you know, Caroline can hopefully get home and be back with her family, which is, you know, what you all want. You know, it's completely understandable why, you know, she's in respite, and I think it's probably the only thing you could do at the moment, especially, you know, with the little one as well being off school, you know. But, you know, it just seems crazy, and I'm more than happy to help you with that. You know, we do advocate for families, so I'm very happy to help, you know, with talking to people and, you know, seeing.
I'm hoping it's like a tick box exercise now. It's not just Carney. This would be anybody who's in hospital and who has cars coming in or has a car package. It's automatically lost. If you're 28 days, then you automatically lose it now. It can be a matter of just, that's okay, we can take that on again and whatever. But sometimes it mightn't be as simple as that.
No,
you know, and
it's the energy and the emotion that it takes to fight to get back to, you know, what you need. That's, you know, that's
the time
difficult thing. Absolutely. You know, refilling all the forms and submitting them, and the time that it takes, you know.
But also for them as well, if they just put it on hold, they don't have to redo everything at their end. It makes sense to hold it.
Yeah, because last year we went through a terrible time with a car agency. When Caroline first went into the services, Caroline could talk and walk and write and read and whatever. And she knew that she wasn't going to get better. She knew herself what lay ahead. And she had wrote down that if she was getting changed or personal care. She didn't want the meal to go near. That was her choice. That was her dignity, her respect. That's what she wanted.
That absolutely should be respected.
Yeah, and last year, one of the care agencies started sending mail, came out with a female just out of the blue when new car name was getting very upset about it, and so there was a whole ding dong over this here with ourselves, social worker, care managers, and blah blah blah, all this, and because they says it was the law, and I says,
what?
How do you know it's the law? Apparently, some male carer took one of the agencies to an equality tribunal and won it, and it's the law that they can't guarantee that it'll be a male. And I was arguing the case. I got the law centre, and one's on my side, and they says that they're taking an interpretation out of the law. There's discretion, and but it was a whole big thing. I had to go to the press over it, and once I went to the press, the whole trust changed their whole attitude, and they got a different care package in place. But it was things like that there, I just couldn't believe that Caroline wanted. That's her wish, and they were discarding her wish. Some people might, and some people are happy enough for male to change. Some people happy for female, and that's your choice and whatever. But this was Caroline's. This was Caroline's choice. This was Caroline's wish, and it was just dismissed. It was a take it or leave it attitude by the trust, and it was only because I went to the law centre here and to a journalist who I knew who works for the Irish News newspaper, who put in she didn't put the story in, but what she'd done, she sent an email up to say she'll put a story in if it doesn't change. They changed their attitude like that within a couple of hours. Within a couple of hours, the attitude changed. So it's you're doing all that there. So my worry would be that they would bring that care agency back again. I don't want that care agency back near Caroline again, and I want the same care package that she has. But we'll just see what happens, I'll go up and I'll phone the social worker in the hospital, and I'll just see what way it goes and what way it happens. But
it just feels really awful that everyone's got enough to worry about at the moment, with the whole coronavirus thing, that actually putting families like ours in having just adding more and more stress. It just feels really wrong, doesn't it, that you should kind of know that if, for example, they said that Carolyn could come out sometime next week, that actually you could just alert everybody she's coming home, and the care package is agreed, it's already there, it's funded, and so it would kind of kick in again. Potentially it means that she could be away from her family for longer, because you've got to wait for it all to sort of kick it, all be set up again, which just it just seems
ridiculous,
crazy.
It seems all sometimes I just can't work it out. You try and work it out. Who makes all these rules up? Who sits down and adds up? We're living. I would want them to walk in my shoes for a day. That's what I feel like doing. Just taking my shoes off and saying, "Here, you stepping in for a day."
And I think again, it's compounded by having a rare disease, because people don't know the disease, they don't understand the disease. If you have a more common disease, then people are aware of the difficulties faced by those people. They're aware of symptoms. Where if someone's sitting in an office and they see, a diagnosis that they've never ever heard of, it doesn't kind of conjure up a picture of that person, which I think is also makes it so difficult. But I say, Gerard, that's definitely something that we will continue to talk about, and you know,
Mhm.
will help you with.
Okay.
So how do you think that? So Jake seems really happy. He kind of
Yeah,
seems
he
a bit
does.
kind of oblivious to to perhaps
He knows what's going. Yeah, he kind of knows. They did ask me. I think they're still gauging Jacob, and
Yeah.
I know Jacob. Jacob knows everything that's going on. Like I said before, it's like our kids are trapped in their bodies because he does know everything that's going on. He's not thick. He's totally on it.
Yeah.
Where the disease is affected in his brain isn't affecting his understanding of anything.
Yeah.
So I did explain to him everything that was going on.
Yeah.
In the world. He knew bits of it, but I've told him like it's all around the world and everything. His first first question is, when are the theme parks going to open again? You know, it's
Good
things
question.
like that. So I know, it's like really the last thing I'm worried about is Thorpe Park right now. But,
but hang on, he's a 20-year-old lad. He's got to get his priorities right, hasn't he?
Exactly. So when can I skydive again? And he's asking all these questions, but of course he's in a bubble there, so he's not seeing what it's like to queue. I had to go this morning to get a prescription. I've told the care home anything like that, I'll do the running around.
Yeah.
So I had to get a prescription today. So, and I don't know what it's like in your areas, guys, but it's absolutely raining really hard here.
Yeah,
and up till now it's been glorious. So today, outside Boots, because they're only letting one in at a time in our area.
Yeah.
So we're all queuing, and bless, some people had forgotten their umbrellas. So I had mine. So when I went in to go and wait for my prescription, I handed my umbrella to the person behind me. And because they hadn't got it ready, they told me to wait. And I said, well, I need to get this for Jacob and I need it today. And I was told to come this morning. They said, that's fine, you can wait. So I had to wait in a corner while they let someone else in. So my umbrella was just being passed down the queue. It's things like that. And it's like, it suddenly hits you, doesn't it? Like, how long is it going to be till we go back to normal? Like queuing, not just queuing as a normal queuing, but queuing outside a shop. Because you can't go in because there's more than one or two people in there. And so he's not affected like that. He hasn't got a clue what it's really like.
Yeah.
You know, so from which I'm grateful for in a way, because what he doesn't know doesn't hurt, does it? So yeah, things like that he hasn't got a clue, but he does know it's hitting the world and what's sort of happening.
Yeah.
But like the place that your daughter's in, Gerard, there's none of it's happened at his place. They've all been tested, everyone's fine. If there's a slight little concern about a member of staff, they have to self-isolate. One of Jacob's key workers' wives come down with a cold. No, just a cold, runny nose. They got her tested, she hasn't got it, but they still got him to self-isolate for 2 weeks before he came back to work, just in case.
Yeah.
So thankfully the care home are on it like a bonnet. In fact, before lockdown happened, they went into lockdown. 2 weeks before our official lockdown, they went into lockdown, and they are really on it with their staff and everything. So I've got to look at the bright side of it. You know, the fact that they are on it is just a struggle not being able to see him. But I have to look at positives for everything. He's become more independent because of it, which is what he wanted. So although they're struggling to understand him a bit and stuff, and we've got this issue with the TV thing and what he's watching, and you know, if they understand him, he's making more of an effort to try and communicate, because it's so hard for him that he'll just do it through me. So he's having to push himself. So actually it's horrible, but he's had to kind of, it's always worries me that what happens if I'm not here anymore. It's always played on my mind, and now he's gone into there, obviously, and all this going on, it's playing on my mind even more. But actually, you know, touch wood, I think he will be all right, because he will eventually get what he wants. It's just I'm an easier
know him, and they'll sort of, you know, be able to interpret what he wants, kind of, you know, almost.
They'll get there eventually. But from the care aspect and him eating and drinking, and you know, the whole crux of the condition he's got and how quickly they've learnt it and dealing with him, can't fault it at all. It's just that, like I said, the lack of communication that he has to be able to, you know, say what he wants, you know. But apparently he's getting on with it and getting more independent with it and doing really well now with a button. They've got a bigger button that he can press, so that if he needs help and stuff, and he's kind of feeling his way and finding it and things like that. Whereas when I'm around, I do it for him because I hate seeing him struggling. So he is getting his independence there. So so
that's great. And how's Caroline doing? Is she seemed quite. I mean, it's good that she's
anytime
somebody
we
you
see
know.
her and all, yeah, especially when she sees Tiernan, she's smiling, you know, she seems happy and content in herself. We know that there, she's up and the nurses know her. She probably found it maybe a bit strange because of all masks and all on, but she got used to that. And then when I think when she's out, Caroline had to get an awful lot of medication, bottled water, feeds for her peg. She's had a couple of seizures, so she's on seizure medicines and all. And it's here, you can't go to the doctors here. You have to nominate a pharmacist to collect your prescription. So you have to. You can't. The doctors won't let you. The GPs won't let you in the door and all this. So it's actually difficult. It's good the way they're doing it. They're protecting their staff. I understand that in the GP, but it can be quite difficult sometimes. Different GPs have different ways of operating, and then they get the orders and all in. So for Caroline, we would have to order at least a week in advance before you get it. So you'd be a bit worried in case you would run out, and so that's an added worry off, is that I don't have to run to the doctors and keep getting prescriptions and trying to keep getting, because she's on that much. And but another thing too, funny, I seen Matt Hancock, the health secretary of yours, and our health secretary's Robin Swan, is the same thing, and about people not going to hospitals and people not going to A&E, and they're coming off with this here. They're scared of getting a virus or because they've been told to stay away. But I think one of the reasons is as well, nobody wants to go to hospital in case they're admitted, because once they're admitted, nobody's allowed to see them. You're not allowed. Nobody's allowed to see you. I wouldn't want to go to hospital and nobody's gonna see me as well. So that's another reason that.
And it is. It's a juggling act, isn't it? Because I know that I'm in a lot of contact with doctors, and that is a worry for them, that actually both adults and children aren't seeking medical advice perhaps when they should. So there have been some cases where people have been much more poorly because they've delayed going to hospital, understandably, because people are worried about catching the virus. They're worried about, as you said, Gerard, being on their own, and how are they going to get the things that they need, because we all know, the NHS is under so much pressure at the moment, but they still have to, if you're really worried, they still have to try and seek some kind of medical advice. I think it's
and then if you, God forbid, if you pass away here, you've no service or nothing. You're just straight. You're from the undertakers straight to the grave. You're only allowed 10 members of your family. There's no service, and that's it. You know what I mean? It's really, really frightening, and really.
It's horrible. It's really horrible.
Just heartbreaking, isn't it? It's just completely heartbreaking. It's like nothing I don't think anyone's ever experienced. I was talking to a friend the other day, and we said, if you watched this on a film and said this was happening in the UK and around the world, you wouldn't have believed it. You would have said absolutely never, and here we are kind of living through it. It's been great to talk to both of you today. Thank you so much for sharing, kind of past history and what's going on now, and obviously we'll keep talking and keep each other updated, and just take care and look after look after Jake and look after Caroline, and
and look after Cameron too.
Yes, I will. I think
are you going to be putting this on your website, or what are you doing? Are you doing a conference?
Yeah. So we're gonna put it. We've been putting them on our Facebook page, and then we've actually got a YouTube channel, just because it seems that people seem to, you know, kind of take quite a lot out of actually seeing people chatting about it. You know, it's kind of so we just kind of thought, actually, let's get people talking. You know, peer support is, you know, is so important. You know, and hopefully you two, you know you've met and everything. You know, keep supporting people, and you know, we've just got to keep going, haven't we? And
Yeah,
we can.
we just have to keep going and helping others when they need it, like you, Gerard, at the moment, because what they're doing to you is ridiculous.
We have, that's what it says. There's nothing over here for a leukodystrophy or rare disease, or there's nothing. All the big ones, Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, as I say, as the MS, and all, they've all this machine behind them. We've nobody. You know, I have, luckily, because of my capacity of being the chair of a human rights charity, I'm able to bring in other people and get advice and help, and people who know the law, and people who would do things, you know, the media and all this here. And but if I hadn't got that, if I was just, you know, you wouldn't, you know, you'd just be saying yes, you'd just be saying, you're just letting them walk over you, you know, and I'm not gonna do that as well, you know. And so that's my only thing, you know. I do what I think is right for Caroline. It was the right thing for her to go in there. I know that. It doesn't make it easier as time goes on. It really breaks our heart, you know, because we can't see her and our wee boy and all that. But we just have to keep motoring on. Just motoring on. That's all.
Absolutely. Oh, well, take care, everybody. And
you too.
And we will keep in contact.
We will. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.